Arch Manning. Touchdown, Mustangs.
We're not done yet, boys.
Hello and welcome into the Dave Campbell's College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Carter Yates, and joining me from beautiful Austin, Texas, is senior writer Mike Craven. Craven, 2 days after Valentine's Day, how was the weekend? Are you a big Valentine's Day guy, or do you think it's a Hallmark holiday?
I mean, what is your guess, Carter? You know me pretty well.
Probably a Hallmark holiday.
Yeah. Not huge in the Craven household. We have an 11-month-old. Our nieces were in town from Kerrville, so we all went to VO 313. And my niece's parents went out for Valentine's, and we had my grandmother there. They have four. There's 4 kids on that side, right? Then I have my kid. So it was my wife, me, grandma, and the 5 kids. Everyone thought we just had 5 kids. Like we were just like the type with like 5 kids, and that was awkward. So that's what we did for Valentine's Day. Went to Amy's Ice Cream. It was a great time.
Romantic weekend for you. That's
right.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure you're fielding a lot of questions from your nieces, and that's what I think we're going to do for this episode of the podcast. We're in the drills of the offseason before spring ball starts. Let's just do an offseason mailbag episode. I reached out to some friends, got 4 questions for us to talk about today, and we're going to do a couple football, a couple non-football, and I want to start off here, Craven, by asking what will be the next team in Texas college football to make the playoff. If you look back at it, we've been blessed on the teams we've covered, had a lot of success, a lot of different teams. 5 different teams from Texas have made the college football playoff in the last 4 years. It's TCU in 2022, Texas in 2023, Texas and SMU in 2024, and Texas A&M and Texas Tech in 2025. So take all those off the table. What is the next team from Texas you think makes the college football playoff?
I've been lucky enough to cover every one of those first games.
Which was the best game? Which was the best first game you covered?
It's a great question. The best experience was SMU Penn State.
Yeah, flying up in that plane for hours on end.
It ended up being a really cool story. Just kind of getting stuck on a plane and just kind of what that was for SMU, and getting to Happy Valley. That was a top moment. Texas A&M Miami was really good. So yeah, I'd probably have to be SMU Penn State because of the story. But I want you to go first here because mine is kind of based off of yours.
Okay, so I'm going to go with Houston, and you say yours is based off mine because I think Houston is the clear-cut answer if we're looking in the Power 4 ranks. And it starts with Willie Fritz, the head coach, and the respect that we both have for him, Craven. I mean, he led the best single-season turnaround in the country from 2024 to 2025. 3 of his wins last year were after being down by 10-plus points, and twice was after going down by 14. I've seen the stat thrown out by Chris Vanini at The Athletic that Willie Fritz has a 10-win season at 5 different schools. It's Blinn Junior College, Central Missouri, Sam Houston, Tulane, and now Houston. So he's done it at everywhere, at every level. My one concern with Houston, and we've talked about it multiple times, will the NIL budget allow them to compete for the college football playoff spot? Because they don't have that war chest like Texas Tech has, to where they're able to get one of the top-ranked transfer portal classes. Joey McGuire takes all these new ingredients, gets them to all buy into the culture. They make it to the college football playoff. Houston's going to have to do it with a different formula. I mean, take Kelvin Sampson, the head coach at Houston basketball, who's basically in, like, what are they going to do, fire me mode. He literally had a quote a couple weeks ago saying, "We are poor. We are a very poor athletic department. We were poor when I got here, and we're still poor." Now, that doesn't take into account they have 2 5-star prospects on their team. That's neither here nor there. They're still poor. But I wonder, Craven, do they have the resources to allow Willie Fritz to cook?
I think that is the big question. They have to compete with Texas Tech, and the issue for Houston, the issue for Baylor is, will the Big 12 get multiple schools in there on a year-in, year-out basis? And so you're going to have to unseat Texas Tech. But if you win the conference, you're in the college football playoff, and signing Keyshawn Henderson, the 5-star quarterback, you feel like gives them the ceiling to do that. And if you have an elite quarterback, that's how you bridge the gap. When you look at, like when Clemson was winning those national championships, they didn't have the overall roster as Ohio State or Alabama or even like a Georgia, but they had transactional quarterbacks that were really good, that were going to be top draft picks, Trevor Lawrence, and the likes of that nature. So You got the coach in Willie Fritz. You have the quarterback in Keyshawn Henderson. You have the city of Houston and that surrounding area in terms of recruiting. So I do think that they're the most obvious pick. And like you said, it comes down to if they have the resources or not. But if you win a couple of 10-win seasons and you're building that, it's a little bit easier maybe to pressure the donors in the city around you to pony up for the money. If you have proof of concept in 2025, I think helped with that.
And that's not all Houston's fault, the fact they don't have as many resources, because I know they had to take like half the media share when they got into the Big 12 from the American Conference in 2024 and 2025. But just the facts are facts. I mean, The Athletic ranked Houston as the least valuable Big 12 football program in July 2025. I don't know how much that changed in 1 year. Maybe they are starting to be more valuable now that they had that 10-win season. This was coming off a 4-8 year. But also, if there's one guy who can do it with less resources, I believe it's Willie Fritz, because like we talked about the resume, back-to-back American Conference Coach of the Year at Tulane. He made 2 FCS championship games at Sam Houston, 2 JUCO national championship games at Blinn Junior College. The guys won everywhere at every level, and I think that's why it was such a savvy hire for Houston going back to when they brought him in at the beginning of 2024. It's because he was going to have to do it in a different way from a lot of other Power 4 schools. Yes, they're in the Power 4, but coming up from the G6 ranks, they were going to be on an uneven playing field resources-wise from a lot of these other schools in the P4.
Yeah, and if you took like Joey McGuire right now and put him at Houston, he'd probably look around and go like, "Where are all my toys?" You know, but you take Willie Fritz from the path that he took. He goes to Houston. He's like, "Holy crap, we're rich! Like we got more than I've ever had before. I don't even have to line the field myself, right?" So it's all relative. It's all subjective. I think he is perfectly positioned to be the type of coach who can do more with less. Baylor here is the other one at the P4 ranks that hasn't made the playoff, and that's just a tough one because of the coaching situation right now. Like, is Dave Aranda going to be here past 2026? They've lost 3 out of their last 4, but it's easy to forget that, you know, the last 3 coaches at Baylor have won Big 12 championships. And if you win a Big 12 championship, you're getting into the college football playoff. So if they can figure it out, get the head coaching thing, you know, whether that's Aranda or whoever they get for 2027, I think we sometimes forget Baylor's upside, that they've been one of the winninger programs in the state over the last 15 years, and that they definitely can do it. But I'm going to go with North Texas. I worry about the money with Houston. I worry about the money with Houston compared to the Big 12. At Baylor, like I said, it's the head coach, and also not convinced that those donors like have the stomach or the ability to keep up with the Texas Tech. So that sends me to the G6 ranks. And I feel like Texas State, UTSA, North Texas or the contenders there. I'm going with North Texas because I'm not sure where Texas State ends up in the Pac-12 pecking order, right? Like, because of the expansiveness of that conference, you're going to have to go to Boise State or Washington State or Oregon State, San Diego State. Like, those are long road trips. How do you win that conference with the Boise State sitting there? And then, so if it's down to UTSA and North Texas, if you win the American, I feel like you're more than likely in, you know, unless Boise State's 11-1, they're undefeated. I just think it's easier for North Texas. One, because of location. They're in DFW, and not only can you recruit the best high school talent in the nation from DFW, but you can get transfers coming back. You've seen that with Neil Brown's first recruiting class. You just hired a coach who the last time he was at the G6 ranks won 10-plus games in his last 3 seasons. You just saw North Texas get to the AC championship game, basically with a reworked roster, you know, year over year. So you've just seen it in the modern kind of portal revenue share. And they have the resources. Like, they are resourced to be in the top 5 of the American year in and year out. And so their ceiling is there. So because of location, because of resources, because of head coach, I think I'm going to take North Texas because I feel like it is easier to be the top G6 program than it is to catch a Texas Tech in the Big 12.
Is the American, bar none, the top G6 program? Or do you think the Pac-12 gives them a run for their money when we talk about how the committee ranks them going into the playoff order? Because I feel like last year, the AC is definitely the top one. They were consistently getting ranked ahead of Sun Belt teams. I do wonder what it'll be like when the Pac-12 gets back in the mix here.
I believe that's about the perception of Boise State. And I wonder if when Boise State wins the Pac-12 gets the benefit of the doubt. And when someone else wins the Pac-12, the American gets the benefit of the doubt.
That's probably how it's going to happen.
And so, like, if it's Boise State that is only getting the benefit of the doubt, and a 10-2 Texas State that wins the American is not looked upon the same, or a 10-2 Texas State that wins the Pac-12 is not looked upon the same as a 10-2 North Texas or UTSA that wins the American, I think it's maybe easier for those years in which Boise State isn't dominant for the American champion to get in, other than the Pac-12 champion on a year that Boise State is down to win. Then you can use the argument of, well, Boise State went 8-4 this year. Who did you really beat in that conference? I guess it comes down to, what people end up with the perception of Washington State, Oregon State, some of those other programs.
Now, you sat down with North Texas head coach Neil Brown last week. That's why you actually recorded in the studio here last week, because you were going to Denton, America to talk to Neil Brown. Are you picking UNT as your most likely G6 playoff contender because of what you saw and what you heard from Neil Brown at your stop with him?
Not really. I'm picking them because they made a hire like Neil Brown.
Okay.
Like, one of the things I've learned most in this industry, and I think I've said this on the podcast before, is how much alignment matters and how much having a university president and athletic director on the same page gives you a chance. And Texas State has that. I think UTSA has it as well. But North Texas has that with Jared Mosley, Dr. Keller as the university president. But also, I just don't think you can look away from the location. UTSA has to recruit San Antonio, and San Antonio has some good football players, but not to the level and the depth of level that DFW does. Same with Texas State, right? They're in the hill country around Austin, like San Antonio. You can find talent there, but it's just not as deep as it is in the DFW. And so I think North Texas has more money, or at least more money to put into athletics. I think North Texas's location next to talent is better. Last year kind of proved that it can be done. And so I just think North Texas is the best G6 program positioned to go do that year in and year out. Now, that's not to say Texas State can't pop one year and go be the team, or UTSA can't pop one year and go be the team. But if we're looking right now, over the next 10 years, which is the most likely program to do it, even if we throw head coaches out of there, I just think North Texas has built-in advantages that the other two don't.
I think
if we compare it to Rice and Sam and UTEP as well.
I think we answered two different questions here, Craven, because my honorable mention from the G6 was Texas State, but that is totally dependent on G.J. Kinney. And it's because I've seen the meteoric highs that Texas State has reached with G.J. Kinney. It's just, can they remove the month of October from their football brains? Because G.J. Kinney in October with Texas State has not been pretty. Last year they went 0-4. I think they were fighting guys at the end of the 4-game skid, and you really thought the thing was going to come all the way off the rails. But then November rolls around, and they go back in and make the First Responders Bowl at SMU Stadium in Dallas. So I just see the potential of what Texas State is. I know they have great alignment with Kelly Danfus and Don Coryell. I just wonder, can they be more consistent? And I just like them this year with Brad Jackson coming back, Bo Sparks, Chris Dawn, the offensive weapons they'll have in the Pac-12. I think they could catch lightning in a bottle and be this year's North Texas, basically.
Yeah, if you're asking me which G6 team in 2026 can make the playoff and have a North Texas type run, it is Texas State for all the things that you mentioned. You got your head coach going into year 4. You've set the floor. Now it's about getting to the ceiling. You bring back your quarterback. You bring back a couple 1,000-yard wide receivers. You did well in the running back room. I'm always going to trust Kenny in that program to figure out the portal and go find some hidden gems and some retreads that maybe didn't work at their previous stop. And so and they just went and hired the defensive coordinator, and that was the thing holding them back. It does scream North Texas going into 2025, the way Eric Morris was able to turn the roster over, get a quarterback in there, have talent around him, but also go find a defensive coordinator that can transform the other side of the ball. We'll see if Texas State hits in 26 the way North Texas hit 2025.
But maybe I'm just fooling myself again, because I feel like G.J. Kinney every September is the hottest future big-time head coach of a Power 4 level program, and everyone gets on that G.J. Kinney bandwagon, and then the wheels just come completely off. Do you think this year could be different, Craven?
Yeah, I do. It's always the same until it's not, right? It's Ryan Day can't win the big one until he can.
Well, he still can't win the big one. That narrative's back now.
He won the national championship.
I'm just messing with you.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not smart enough to know what the October thing is. And last year it was 4 losses by a combined 10 points, and 2 of them were in overtime. So
they were all very painful.
The margins are really small there. You got a quarterback going into year 2 as a starter for the first time in your tenure, right? You've had to turn over that position every single year. Now you have experience at quarterback. You have experience at wide receiver. You have to feel that the defense takes a step forward. My deal with Texas State, and I don't know how big of a deal this is or not, it's the travel and the geography of the Pac-12.
Time zone change.
they don't have any neighbors. Like every road trip is a big trip. Like even the close ones, quote unquote, to like a Colorado State is still a long trip. And so how much does that take out of them? What are they resourced compared to the Pac-12? What is the perception of that conference beyond Boise State? None of that's necessarily in Texas State's control, but they are factors and variables in which I wonder about.
Yeah, I totally agree. Those are some bear of plane trips. When you're heading to Denton for game day, make it more than just 4 quarters of football. Make it a weekend to remember. Discover Denton's vibrant downtown square, amazing food scene, live music every night, and hotels that put you close to all the action. Whether it's mean green football or just a Texas getaway, Denton is where hip intersects with historic. Plan your visit now at discoverdenton.com. Okay, let's go to our second question in the mailbag, another football-related question. Craven, in your opinion, who are the 3 best head coaches in the state? Do you want to go like you pick one, I pick one, or do you want to list out your 3, your reasoning for the 3, and then I list out my 3?
Do you mind if I list out my 3?
Yes, list them out for me. Do you want to do? Are you doing it in order, or are you just like these are your top 3?
So I kind of did it because I think it depends on the job. Not every job is made the same. The type of coach you need to succeed at Texas is not the same coach you need at Baylor, not the same coach you need at Sam Houston or UTEP, that way. So I think there's 3 different types of jobs here. And the first one is kind of elite, blue blood, huge budget. And for that, I'm taking Steve Sarkisian. 2 trips to the CFP. He's won a Big 12 championship, been to an SEC championship. That's all since 2023. Not the greatest record with Kirby Smart, Kellen DeBoer, those kind of guys. But he's been at USC under Carroll, Alabama under Saban. Now he's navigating the waters at Texas. He just feels like that Hollywood actor that's like built for the big role, for the big box office movie. Maybe not your best like nuts and bolts actor of all time in an indie film, but he just knows how to carry the big franchise. And I just think that Steve Sarkisian. Joey McGuire might be the second pick there in that category. Then I think there's your program builder. Just like in it for a long haul, maybe a lower G5 or a lower P4 that doesn't have a huge budget, that has to do more with less. As we talked about previously with Houston and the CFP question, I think that's Willie Fritz. 2nd-year bump he's enjoyed everywhere. 5 different programs taken to 10 wins, won at virtually every single level. The big question was, can he recruit and coach at the P4 level? He signs the top-rated quarterback in the country, keeps him in town. He wins 10 games in year 2. Now, Jeff Traylor probably deserves a mention in this category as well, but I think I'm going to go Willie Fritz. And then there's kind of the jobs where you need the younger, kind of aggressive, think-out-of-the-box coordinator types maybe. And to me, that's Rhett Lashley. And
we have the same 3, Craven. We have the same 3. We did not even compare notes before this. That's just our brains thinking alike.
If Lashley doesn't count for that, because maybe Lashley's grown into like the Sark, McGuire, Dykes kind of category of like just big-time coaches, or, can they go – but if Lashley doesn't count for that, I'll take G.J. Kinney, as we talked about. Really good talent evaluator, going to be a quarterback magnet. The only question I have with Kinney is like the coordinator hire on the defensive side of the ball, just like with Eric Morris before 2025. And Morris answered that question with Cassidy, and he graduated to the Big 12 at Oklahoma State. Maybe Kinney does the same way that way. So I just think that there's different coaches that work different places. Like I don't think Elko would be a great fit at Texas. I don't think Sark would be a great fit at A&M, for example. And so when we were talking about this question, I thought of it in those kind of ways.
I have the same 3, and I agree with how you grouped them. I guess I was looking at it based on just if you gave everyone the same team, like who would have the best records year in and year out. And I went with the same guys as you. I mean, for Willie Fritz, it's just he's done it everywhere. Pound for pound, I think he's one of the best coaches in America. And I realize that sounds hyperbolic, but he's just done it everywhere, guys. And then Steve Sarkisian, I think last year, the disappointment that Texas fans felt is almost a testament to what Steve Sarkisian has built in such a short amount of time. I mean, 3 consecutive 10-win seasons and 2 college football playoff appearances. Texas had 1 10-win season from 2010 to 2022. And some of that was Sark in the first 2 years, but he was building that program up to what it is. And then I look at the NFL draft success, too. It's 11 first or second round NFL draft picks in the last 3 seasons. Texas had 5 first or second round draft picks from 2011 to 2022. And Rhett Lashley, in 2023, they won the first conference championship since 1984, then went into the ACC conference where you got to remember Florida State and Clemson were trying to sue their way out of the ACC for bringing a program like SMU of that caliber into their conference. And SMU goes into the ACC championship game, then makes the college football playoff. He's 11-2. Or sorry, not 11-2. He's like 14-2 in the ACC through the first 2 years. I know the ACC hasn't been this dynamic juggernaut conference like old that we saw it, but that's still very impressive coming from SMU's background of 40 years in the wilderness, wandering around post the Pony Excess era. So, man, I think those three are the top head coaches. My honorable mention is Mike Elko, but I would have a hard time putting anyone above those top three in the state.
Yeah, if there was a coach like over the next 5 years, which coach becomes like a no-brainer on this list, it would be Mike Elko for me. He just hasn't done it for long enough, but I think he's going to be at A&M for a while, and he's going to turn the Aggies into something that reaches their ceiling in a way that we've never seen A&M's program done. And he's already doing that, getting to the CFP in year 2 of his tenure. He's a really sharp guy, defensive coach, and those have typically done really well in the SEC, like a Saban, like a Kirby Smart, et cetera. So I just have, a couple years at Duke, a couple years at A&M. It's hard for me to unseat these other guys for him. The one I struggle with the most is Joey McGuire. Like, where do you put McGuire in this hierarchy? How much do you think he is respected or disrespected because of like the resources that Tech has? I think sometimes we look at the Tech thing as like it's just about the money. Whereas a lot of these programs have money. You also need the coach to do it. I don't think Joey gets the respect that he should as a football coach. But I don't know where to put him on this list.
I think he's tier 2. If you split him into 4 tiers in the college football ranks in Texas of the 13 teams, he's probably tier 2 right there. But I do agree with you. He's underrated now at this point. I think he gets a lot of disrespect, like you mentioned, for the resources they have there. And it's like, of course, coaches like to convince themselves if I just had his resources, I would do the exact same thing. Or you could put just any guy in his position and they would do the exact same thing. But I think Joey deserves a lot more credit than he gets as a program builder and an ego manager in that building and getting everyone to buy in to that culture there. So I totally agree with you. He's tier 2. But I think he gets held back almost because of the resources, which is not his fault, And like the reason Cody Campbell invests that much in that program is because Joey McGuire is able to help fundraise and able to be the face of that program to get the confidence of the boosters. You know what I mean? So that's a talent too.
And before he had any of that, he beat Texas and Oklahoma in his first year as a head coach.
Yeah.
Like he's got winning records in each of his years as a Big 12 head coach. That hadn't happened at Tech, I don't think, ever. And so, yeah, I think he's underrated from a football coach standpoint because you see him as a recruiter or as like the CEO or, just kind of the figurehead of the program that has all of this money. But I don't get some of the pushback, especially from like Texas fans who are like, well, they just had all the resources. Of course they won. It's like Texas had that forever. They won 3 Big 12 championships, like won the last 15 years that they were in the league. So just because you have the most resources doesn't mean you're going to win all the time. We could look at the University of Texas and just kind of the coaches they turned over to prove that. It's harder to do than just line up and win. And so, yeah, I just think Joey's underrated in that category. And then the other one I wanted to ask you about is Sonny Dykes. There is one coach on this list that has coached as a head coach in the national championship, and that's Sonny. And we didn't mention him at all. And I just wonder, he turned La Tech into a legitimate power when he was there at the G5 level. He turned SMU around. I think Rhett Lashley has benefited a lot from the foundation that Sonny Dykes laid for him. And then he takes TCU to a national championship and back-to-back 9-win seasons. Sonny's another one that I think we underrate sometimes as just a general public.
I think he's very good, not an elite coach. And I think that national championship run they had in 2022, he deserves a lot of credit for that. But I liken that a lot to Barry Switzer coming in for Jimmy Johnson and being that change of face, that change of style where he's more of a player's coach. And I think Gary Patterson was. I'm not saying Gary Patterson wasn't a player's coach, but he was very stern and he was a drill sergeant. And Sonny Dykes is a little more chill and a little more, treats everybody a little more in a laid back manner. Like he demands the best of you, but he's more quiet about it than I think Gary Patterson was. And that team had a lot of senior leaders on it from the Gary Patterson era. And Sonny did a magnificent job leading them on a storybook season to the national championship. But I've been a little underwhelmed by the last 2 or 3 years at TCU. And it seems like they keep bumping their head against a glass ceiling. And I don't think they have many excuses for not being able to win 10 games, if that makes sense.
Here's my pushback on the Cowboys comparison is the Cowboys had won a Super Bowl with that team before.
Yeah.
Here are the records going into that season. Like the previous 4 seasons at TCU before Sonny got there were 7-6, 5-7, 6-4, 5-7. So under 500 the 4 years that he got there. His 4 years that he's been there, it's 13-2, 5-7, 9-4, 9-4. And I think that 5-7 season can be chalked up to they had so much success in 22 that they hadn't recruited to lose the guys that they lost, right? They weren't assuming they were going to lose so many guys early to the NFL after having such a big year in year one, got caught with their pants down, playing late into the year, kind of missing a lot of the portal stuff. I definitely know that TCU has lost some games that they shouldn't have the last couple of years, and there's an argument to be made that they've underachieved in 23, 24, and 25. But I don't think he didn't take over a super team.
That's true.
And I think we look back and we try to tell a tall tale about like what the TCU program was that he inherited. He definitely inherited a talented roster, but I don't think he inherited a championship caliber program. Like he did that, and I think he should get some credit for that in a state that doesn't have right now a national champion within its ranks.
You're definitely right, Craven. I think I equate the Gary Patterson era with the Andy Dalton, Trevon Boykin type teams, and I forget too about that last 4 years and how they needed a change. It wasn't like there was some acrimonious split where Gary Patterson is just winning and going to Rose Bowls up until the moment he leaves. They needed a change, and Sonny Dykes was that change. So that definitely is a good point. I just think he's still a tier 2 type coach, and I don't know. Willie Fritz, Steve Sarkisian, Rhett Lashlee, I think are elite, and I don't know if Sonny Dykes is elite, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it.
But I think who do you think is the best out of all these three? If you had to go pound for pound, who is the best head coach out of Willie Fritz, Steve Sarkisian, Rhett Lashlee? Who is it?
Willie Fritz.
I'd probably go 2, although Rhett Lashlee has been really impressive at SMU, also with his coordinator hires and Scott Simons too. Scott Simons is going to the Dallas Cowboys now as the linebackers coach. I really want to see what he does with that defensive coordinator role, but I think what Rhett Lashlee has done, taking SMU from, well, also now this is kind of, Sonny Dykes helped build back SMU to what it was too, because Sonny Dykes was the one who brought them to a level where Rhett Lashlee could take over and then get them to conference championships, but I still think it's pretty remarkable what he's done. I'm curious though, Craven, you mentioned something earlier about how you don't think Sark would be as good of a coach at A&M, and you don't think Elko would be as good of a coach at Texas. I feel like Texas and A&M are similar jobs, and they have a ton of resources, and were perpetual underachievers for a lot of the 2010s. Why do you think they are meant for that job that they're currently at and not the other one?
Maybe this is an outdated feeling or belief. And maybe this is more about me growing up in the 90s, but there is a personality at A&M and a personality at Texas that is different. And they are different worlds. Even though they're an hour and a half away, they have the same kind of resources, the same type of fan support, all that kind of stuff. Just like what works personality-wise at A&M, what works personality-wise at Texas, just has never felt like they matched. Like the R.C. Slocum at A&M versus the Mac Brown at Texas, like those guys are buddies. Those guys are friends. They're great coaches, but they're very different in how they deal with the media and the fan base criticism. Elko, I think, is perfect for what A&M is. He's kind of a quiet, laid back, under the radar, just go to work, chop the wood kind of guy that works in a silo in that way. And I think it fits the market and the profile of what A&M is. He's a defensive coach, the wrecking crew, all that kind of stuff. Like Steve Sarkisian's like, what's the dude from Top Gun? The not Tom
Hangman,
Cruise, but like the next guy, the next Tom Cruise. He's also really short. Glenn Powell or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Hangman.
Like that. Like I just feel like Sark, Los Angeles. Like I just feel like Sark is Austin. like leaning into the Lamborghini or the Ferrari and the tech money and just like what UT is, what Austin is, what it wants to be, the offensive guy that can bring in the Arch Mannings and the Quinn Ewers of the world. Like the way he attracts superstars with the Cam Colemans and the Anthony Hills, like it just feels like a perfect marriage with Sark and Austin and UT. Whereas I don't know if Elko would attack it that way. I don't know if the size of the media market and what is required from the UT coach would be perfect for Elko. I think there'd be some misunderstandings there from personalities and stuff. And so again, maybe in 2025, or 2026, this is no longer true. But I've just always looked at it as, a different way to skin a cat. And it just seems like Elko and Sark are right fits for where they are at right now.
Love Texas, love football, then you'll love College Station, home of the Aggies and so much more. Come eat, play, relax, and say howdy to one heck of a good time. Plan your trip at visitcollegestation.com. All right, so we've been talking about the upcoming year in Texas college football. Let's take it back a little historical now and a little personal answers here for this next question, Craven. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of favorite football players? So this is not necessarily Texas college football players. It could be college football, professional football, and not necessarily the best ones ever, but the ones you like the most or have sentimental spot in your heart. Let's start with you, Craven. I want to hear, this says a lot about you, who you are as a person, who your favorite football players are.
Yeah, so my first football love of all time was the Houston Oilers, and the quarterback of that team was Warren Moon, and so he was my favorite football player growing up. I was born in 1985. I think Moon was the quarterback there from like 84 to 93. So when I was first learning what football is and how to be a fan and what I liked, like Warren Moon was leading my team. I lived in Houston at the time as a young kid, and so Warren Moon is always going to be kind of my first football hero. My uncle, Will Fuhr, was a backup quarterback for the Oilers in the 90s and stuff. So after Warren Moon, like for the Steve McNair era, but obviously just got to be around the Oilers and that football team. And so Warren Moon, top there for me. Next, go ahead. Sorry.
Warren Moon is an all-time quarterback name. That sounds like a movie quarterback character name.
Yeah, and it taught me a lot about like the business of football, like with the CFL and kind of where he had come from in college and the way HBCUs work and all that kind of stuff. So Warren Moon was like my first entry to football. I think he's got an incredible story, overcame some wild things, just like from a football standpoint, and like stuff that in 2026 seems insane, like the black quarterback stuff, and if they could handle it, all that kind of stuff. Like it was just like my first entry into understanding that, and so. Warren Moon's always been. I got an Oilers hat on right now. Like Warren Moon's always been kind of my favorite football player.
The Oilers is also one of the all-time brands that I wish would come back. I mean, that the logo, the color scheme, it's all amazing. I don't mean to like scratch a wound here, Craven, but I'm a Dallas guy, and that Houston Oilers merch is awesome. I wish I could wear it.
Yeah, it's tough because Browns fans get to keep rooting for the Browns. It was always hard for me. Like I haven't become like a Houston Texans fan. And it's because like, that's not the team I grew up rooting for. It's the city in which but it's not the same colors. It's not the same history. Like somehow for some reason that belongs to the Tennessee Titans. And so, it's just been hard for me. Like I am not an NFL football fan. It's like we joked about on the other part. It's not for political reasons. It's just because I'm a nomad and I watch so much college football by the time Sunday comes around. I'm still working usually. But yeah, I just, the Oilers were my first favorite team. Warren Moon was my first favorite player. So anytime I'm thinking Mount Rushmore stuff for favorite players, he's the first one on my list.
Okay, I'm going quarterback too, Craven. And keep in mind on this one, lifelong Texas Longhorns fan, went to the University of Texas. So this was the quarterback, my favorite UT quarterback of all time, Sam Ehlinger is my number one. Because I was talking about this with Will Wilkerson earlier today, who went to the University of Texas too. My biggest days of fandom were middle school, high school for me. In college, yes, but Craven, once you get in the media, right? I mean, I know you're a UTSA grad, and you still have that part of your fandom there, but you tamp it down a little bit because you need to be unbiased as a journalist. And also you just see more of the business side of all college sports, and you kind of lose that fairy tale aspect of it that you thought of as a little kid. But Sam Ehlinger, and I wasn't a little kid when Sam Ehlinger was the quarterback. I'm only like a couple years younger than him. But he was the first player I saw love Texas as much as I love Texas as a fan, and the way he played the game. And I think you always talk about it's hardest for the first guy through the door, and I'm not saying Sam Ehlinger was the first guy to make Texas awesome in this era. I mean, Texas has a long story tradition, but we mentioned earlier about the eras before Steve Sarkisian. It was rough, man. 110-win season in 12 years, probably the lowest point in UT's program, and he came in during that lowest point, got them to a Sugar Bowl win, dropped an all-time bad quote and reference point in hindsight, but it was awesome in the moment. And I love the passion he played with. So Sam Ehlinger is one of my Mount Rushmore guys.
Yeah, Sam was great. I actually wrote his gatefold cover. That was my first big story at Dave Campbell's, was writing the gatefold cover with him and Dodge there. He was awesome to cover, awesome at UT. A badass player too, just a cool guy.
He would run through a defensive tackle's face. He was like the most jacked quarterback I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, he was a bulldozer for sure. So mine was Warren Moon. I'll just list my other three, and we can talk about any of the other ones you want to talk about. So Warren Moon, Ricky Williams, Sean Taylor, and Patrick Mahomes. They're probably that's my Mount Rushmore.
Dude, we were watching Sean Taylor highlights on the TV this morning because I've got a safety coming up, and it always leads back to Sean Taylor highlights when you talk about safeties in the NFL. Oh my God. You got to go watch. If you're listening to us right now, pause our YouTube video, go Google Sean Taylor highlights, watch him absolutely destroy a punter in a Pro Bowl. It is unbelievable.
I always liked the safety position, like Steve Atwater, Lance Gunn when I was a kid. Ed Reed obviously was a big time player. But I was in college when Sean Taylor was in college, and the U was coming back. And the first football game I ever went to was the 1990 Cotton Bowl between Texas and Miami, and I was a kid in the stands going, man, this Miami thing's pretty cool. So to me, to see the U come back and for him to be just this big linebacker playing safety, just smoking fools with the attitude and the trash talk and all that kind of stuff, I thought Sean Taylor was the coolest player ever. And then Ricky Williams was, you kind of talked about like middle school, high school. Those are your formative years. I moved to Austin. I moved back to Austin when I was 12, so like 1997, and that was Ricky Williams' junior year. So I got to be in Austin. My grandfather worked at UT, so I got to be at a lot of those games his junior and senior year, and he was the definition of cool with the visor, and running back was still in vogue and stuff like that. So Ricky Williams probably my favorite football player of all time. Sean Taylor, and then Patrick Mahomes is kind of the first legend I've ever covered. From nose to tip, like from White House to Texas Tech to now in the NFL. Like I'm now old enough to kind of like watch the whole progress of his career and what he's been in every single stop. He's just been a joy to watch. Like he's just been instant must-watch entertainment the whole time. Somebody I'll probably tell, Lucy in 20 years, right, is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but even when he was at White House, Craven, you knew he was going to be a 3-time Super Bowl champion, NFL Hall of Famer, right? I mean, you were the first guy on this wave.
Well, I think that may have been Greg Powers.
It was Greg Powers, actually, too. He rated Patrick Mahomes, higher than like any other recruiting service.
Yeah, it was probably Greg Powers. But yeah, it was one of those where it was like, if he doesn't want to go play baseball, this all looks easy for him. It's just how it translates from a place like White House. And then it was, how is this going to translate from Texas Tech? And obviously it did, and it has worked out perfectly.
Did Patrick Mahomes change how you evaluate quarterbacks as a journalist and the guy who covered the recruiting game? Like, did he change it for you?
Well, that's a good question, because it actually laid the foundation of how I judged quarterbacks, right? Because that was right when I was starting. Was that Patrick Mahomes, kind of Jarrett Stidham, kind of that crop of quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And it was the trust yourself moment of scouting, where being 6'4", 6'5" is cool, and running the 4.4 is cool, and having the crazy rocket arm attached to your arm was cool, and the Peyton Mannings and the Tom Brady's were what was dominating pro football at the time, and so you felt like that was the archetype, the pocket passer that needed to be the statue that kind of dealt the ball everywhere, and just the quarterbacks my dad grew up watching. And then you watch the Patrick Mahomeses of the world, and then the Robert Griffins, and that new age of quarterbacks, and you go, oh, okay, like there are other ways to look at quarterbacks, and they're asking them to do different things nowadays. And maybe there's a new way to judge them and to measure them and to project them. And Mahomes was a great kind of early lesson in that.
All right, so my first one was Texas quarterback Sam Ehlinger. My next three are Pittsburgh Steelers safety Troy Polamalu, Dallas Cowboys running back Marion Barber, rest in peace to Marion the Barbarian. And then I really struggled on my last one, Craven. I got a couple honorable mentions I can throw out there too, but I went with Baltimore Ravens linebacker Ray Lewis. I used to get so hyped up when he did the pregame dance coming out of the tunnel. This was before I learned about some of the stuff that happened earlier in his career. That's neither here nor there for this podcast. On the football field, awesome. Great dude.
Yeah. Yeah, off the field, awesome, or badass,
Yeah, a little too badass off the field.
Just in case he's listening, we're not talking trash about Ray Lewis.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I love those Miami teams, those Baltimore teams. I mean, I was a huge Ed Reed fan. I was probably Ed Reed over Polamalu kind of guy. I don't know why that became kind of like you had to pick one or the other, but I felt like I was on the Ed Reed side of best NFL safety at that time. But yeah, the Steelers, James Harrison, those defenses, Ryan Clark, those defenses were awesome as well. Like for a while, Steelers versus Ravens was the best game in the NFL, even when it wasn't for anything. Just bad dudes.
A couple reasons for the Polamalu. One, I've always had this fascination with like long hair, and I've always tried to grow my hair out. It doesn't work out very well for me all the time, but I've tried numerous times in my life. I've had every hairstyle in the book. Two, I used to love how he'd dive head first over the line of scrimmage and time the snap count and tackle the quarterback before they could hand the ball off. So I have actually a Troy Polamalu sports figurine on my desk, and it reminds me every day to attack it like Troy Polamalu diving 100 miles an hour over the line of scrimmage.
You a Head and Shoulders guy?
No.
Wow.
I'm not.
Wow.
No, I haven't earned the right for that one.
Wow, Troy P would be disappointed in that.
I know. And then Marion Barber also dreads. Dreads on a running back is sick, by the way. So Ricky Williams, Marion Barber, the dreads coming out of the helmet, the visor, so badass. Marion Barber also the greatest 2-yard run of all time against the New England Patriots, where he broke 11 tackles, I believe. So I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan growing up, so that's my favorite Dallas Cowboys player.
I don't know if I have a favorite Dallas Cowboys player. Maybe Michael Irvin. My honorable mentions were Randy Moss.
Yeah, it's in NFL or college.
Yeah, both. Like watching him at Marshall, just like hurdle guys and just like make them look like children. Again, kind of one of those guys that like marijuana rules are so outdated, and they were outdated then too. And it was like, why is this guy falling because he likes to smoke pot? He's going to kill the rest of the NFL. Like he didn't get to go to Florida State, like all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like, same with Ricky Williams.
Shout out Ricky.
And so like those kind of guys, like Randy Moss was just an absolute cheat code. Like him and Dante Culpepper with the Vikings were incredibly fun to watch. And then also Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch. I mean, the first memory I have of Marshawn Lynch is like him on the golf cart thing, just like swerving on the cow field or whatever. And ever since then, I've had an infatuation with Marshawn Lynch. I just like his overall vibe. So like he was almost on my Mount Rushmore.
I like how he eats Skittles all the time on the sidelines and pregame too. I was watching a replay of the Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl from 2014, and it pans to Marshawn just housing Skittles on the sideline. I was like, I forgot how awesome this dude was.
Yeah, his mic'd up on the sideline stuff was always great. The whole "I'm only here not to be fined," like even as a journalist and a guy, like I get it. Like that's also why I'm at those kind of events, right? Is so I don't get fined or fired because they're usually dumb. So I always liked Lynch's vibe. What does it run into a guy's face over and over and over again? Like when they ask, like, what's the larger lesson in that? Like that's one of the greatest lines of all time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my honorable mention, I got 3. Bob Sanders, Indianapolis Colts safety, also former Iowa Hawkeye. That's another safety. I love the safety position, like you, Craven. I like you know what's funny is we were watching the Bob Sanders, Sean Taylor highlights, and we were like, every single one of these plays is a flag today.
Yes.
Like they would be kicked out of the league if they played today.
Yeah. Which is sad. No such thing as targeting, just to get that out there.
Mm-hmm. And then these next 2 are my favorite players from Texas's rival teams that I always had to pretend to hate and I didn't. It is Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel. Both of those just swagged out white boys. Loved how they played the game. They had a lot of swagger. was one of those things like even, I might get in trouble for this, but Baker Mayfield, that's always a great thing to say right before you say it anyway. Baker Mayfield grabbing the nuts at the Kansas game was after they didn't shake his hand. I was like, I don't mind that, honestly. They started it by not shaking his hand. What are they doing here?
100%. Love Baker. Was in Austin during his Lake Travis times. That was another one of like a good scouting lesson of like some guys are just really good at football and you need to throw out the measurable stuff. Right. And Manziel was one of those. Baker was one of those. Just guys like that who, feel like with attitude and just grit, like they kind of overcome some of that measurable stuff. Like they shouldn't be as good as they are. I've always loved players like that.
Yeah, and Johnny Manziel, I know he had some character issues, and he's still working through some issues. We watched that Netflix documentary on him a couple years back, but I always felt like if I was on Johnny Manziel's team, I'd run through a brick wall for that guy by the swagger he had on the field, and then just like from afar, him in the Scooby-Doo costume on what's the A&M Northgate on Northgate in the Scooby-Doo costume. I mean, amazing. Like this guy rocks.
Yeah, his 2 years at A&M were two of the most fun years in the history of Texas college football. Like it was, and speaking of things like outdated, like we were talking about the weed thing earlier, like, now signing some autographs and getting paid, all that kind of stuff. Like it's just, it's amazing how quickly something can seem so stupid and pointless. And like a lot of the Johnny Manziel drama was just manufactured times, tale of the times type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Visit Lubbock is a proud partner of Dave Campbell's Texas Football and the Gambling Gauchos podcast. Visit Lubbock has put together their guide for all things to do, can't miss experiences, and where to stay if you're traveling into Lubbock for the game. Thank you again to Visit Lubbock, and to learn more, head on over to visitlubbock.org. Okay, so we got our last question now, Craven. We're going back to the college coaches, but we're not really talking about football here. We're talking about season 50 of Survivor. That's coming up, and we want to know which coach would win a season of Survivor if all 13 FBS head coaches in Texas were to play. So I've split this up into 4 tiers, Craven. I've got these guys have no shot. I've had these guys are too threatening to win. Like they should be a front runner, but they're not. They can't win. They're too threatening. I've got a lot of guys and could go either way that I need to talk out with you, and then I got the front runners. Do we want to start with these guys have no shot?
Well, how much do you watch Survivor?
I watched about 3 seasons in high school, and I have not. But I have been watching Traders, which is kind of Survivor adjacent on Peacock. So I can get back into it.
I'm not a huge television watcher. Like it's not. I mean, outside of sports, I don't. I'm one of those nerds that would rather read a book or something than watch a TV series. Nerd. But I know. I love Survivor. It's like one of the nerdiest things about me. I absolutely love Survivor. So I stole this from the Cover 3 podcast. They did the kind of like a national one because it's a CBS platformed podcast or whatever. And I was like, oh, that'd be perfect for Dave Campbell. So let's go through the list real quick, just so everybody at home. Steve Sarkisian, Mike Elko, Dave Aranda, Willie Fritz, Sonny Dykes, Joey McGuire, Rhett Lashley, Neil Brown, Jeff Traylor, Scott Abel, G.J. Kinney, Scotty Walden, Phil Longo. Let's do the no shots. And here are my 4 because like I have 4 no shots because of the physical threat thing. So you can kind of tell me where this fits in with yours. I did Sarkisian, Rhett Lashley, Kinney, and Walden have no shot.
Really? Wait, unpack that for each of them, please. Because I have some of those guys in my could go either way or front runner.
Well, nobody's going to vote for the Texas coach. They're going to try to get the Texas coach out of there because it's the Longhorns, and they're not going to let him win. And he's also like still in good shape and makes more money than all of them. And like, there's just no way. Like, I watch enough Survivor to know like there's no way that's happening.
Yeah.
Rhett Lashley, kind of the same, right? Like, still in good shape, younger, former college athlete. Coaches at SMU, good looking, all that kind of stuff. Like I think everybody teams up and gets Lashley out of there as well.
Although he has 4 kids, so every day is like Survivor for him. Like Survivor might be a vacation.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think he'd struggle with it. I just think everybody else would be like, well, we can't beat Rhett Lashley at some of these things. We need to get. He's the best golfer of the group, so I'd imagine he's pretty good at these challenges and stuff like that. Like I just think. Typically in Survivor, you go after guys you don't think you can like beat in challenges, and so I think guys like Sark, Lashley, Walden. I don't think he's just so energetic, so out there, like a younger guy. still in good. I think they'd get him out. I think guys like Jeff Traylor, Elko, Fritz, Dykes, McGuire, like they gang up and they get some of these guys out, and especially like a GJ Kinney, who I think may be the best athlete of the bunch there. So I think those 4 guys are out from the start just because of the physicality of it.
So the thing about Sark, which is interesting, is do we think he's gone a little soft at Austin, which could be described by some as a country club school?
No, I mean, he tried to beat up a dude at the Alamo Bowl one time for touching his chest. Like,
Yeah, that I forgot about how terrifying that was.
Yeah, I think Sark still got it in there.
But I think he's literally like tanning, I think, Craven. He's starting to blend into the burnt orange background at press conferences behind him. Like,
yeah,
that seems a little bit like country club to me. I don't know if he's got that on Survivor.
Yeah, it might be a little bit of lake stuff. And he's got a young child at home, probably not sleeping very much either. But yeah, I think the way Survivor goes, Sark is out as the head coach of Texas for no other reason, just for that. I just think if you got coaches from other schools, they'd be like, we're getting out that dude. He's got all the advantages everywhere else. Like we're not letting him win this thing.
Yeah. So Sark was on my could go either way. I will downgrade him to out. You make a good point. Rhett Lashley was on my front runner, Craven. I think he's just a smart guy. I think he's athletic, could do the challenges. I think he's personable, could make some alliances. He's not at like Texas. So, I mean, SMU is still a relatively up-and-coming program. So, not just the guy that we need to get the guy from SMU out. I'm just going to keep him my front runner for now. Scotty Walton.
That's why he would get cut. He would get voted out for all the reasons you just listed, because everybody else would know that about him too, and they'd be like, we need to get him out of there to win.
Okay, yeah, you make a good point there. I'm gonna keep him up there for now, but you're convincing me. You're bringing me back the other way. Scotty Walton, I had no shot because I don't know if you can drink C4 on the island, and I think he evaporates without it. I think he's an Energizer buddy that winds down without the C4.
Yeah, I think the one true ism on Survivor is ageism, and like the young people typically gang up on old people if there's like a split there, and old people typically gang up on the young people if there's a split there. And I just think with the kind of average age of these coaches here, Walden would be not in the main group, and they would try to cut the young, energetic guy that they don't want to chase around the island looking for idols.
Because that's the thing, Craven, is like we both are Scotty Walden guys. We both have said we love his energy because it is authentic. He is not putting on an act. That has to get a little annoying on Survivor after a couple days.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said with the idols, he'd just be running around, like he just can't sit still. So he's just going to be running around looking for idols. People aren't going to want to worry about that, and so they're gonna vote him out. Okay,
there's one guy I have left on this guy has no shot, but after listening to you talk, I think he might be your front runner, so I'm going to save him, Craven. I'm going to move on to these guys are too threatening to win. GJ Kinney at Texas State, just young hotshot, former NFL player, really good at challenges. I think they think of GJ Kinney how you think they think of Rhett Lashley. Maybe they think of them both the same. So it's kind of the same thought process. I'm taking GJ out for that reason. And then Joey McGuire, I put on too threatening because I think other coaches are jealous of his NIL war chest, and they don't want him to win Survivor as well as make it to the college football playoff. Kind of talked about that on how we rate McGuire as a head coach because he gets disrespected a bit for all the resources he has. I think that hurts him on the island.
Yeah, that's a good point. Joey 2 years ago probably had a better chance of winning Survivor than Joey now, so I agree with that. I 100% agree with the GJ Kinney deal. He would be my favorite to pick in terms of like challenge beasts.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Kinney can stop there and play. He could play tomorrow, I think, if he wanted to.
Okay, now I got a lot of guys on could go either way. Neil Brown at North Texas, Phil Longo, Sam Houston, Sonny Dykes, TCU, Mike Elko, A&M. Which one of those guys do you think has the least amount of chance and the most amount of chance? Neil Brown, Phil Longo, Mike Elko, Sonny Dykes.
Yeah, I think Neil Brown and Elko, just because they're outsiders. Like I had 4 guys that I didn't think would make it because they're physical threats, and that was Sark, Lashley, Kinney, Walden. Then I had 4 guys who I didn't think could win it because they were outsiders, and I don't know how they would make enough alliances to win, and that would be Elko, Neil Brown, Scott Abel, and Phil Longo.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So that leaves me with, these are the 5 I think could win it. Jeff Traylor, Dave Aranda, Joey McGuire, Sonny Dykes, Willie Fritz.
We're almost all the same. I put Dave Aranda as he has no shot. Craven. That's why I held off, because I know you had him as a front runner. I think he is too shy to make alliances, Craven.
Yeah, he would be a great secret alliance guy. I think Aranda's one of those dudes that just kind of like keeps staying in the game, because he's never like the first one off of anybody's minds in terms of like, I got to get him out or he's going to beat me. And I think that allows Aranda to kind of ride himself into the final three. Yeah. I'm not sure he would make a compelling case once he was in the final three.
You know, when I was thinking about this, I thought back to one of my college friends. His nickname was Cat. Story of why he got that nickname, neither here nor there. But he was a very quiet fellow. So we'd all be sitting in the theater room watching TV on a Sunday for like 4 hours, way too much time. He would not speak for 4 hours, and then he would pipe up and say something, and I would be sitting next to him. My friend would be sitting next to me, and he'd go, "Holy shit, Cat! Oh my! I did not know you were there." That's Dave Aranda, I think. Yeah, on Survivor.
That's the best kind of friend to have, by the way. Yeah, so I think Dave Aranda would make it long into the game. I'm not sure Dave Aranda could close the deal and win, because for those who don't know, who's ever in the final three, you go in front of everyone else who had been voted out, and you kind of make your case for winning. And I think that's where Aranda would struggle to close the deal. And so to me, that leaves Jeff Traylor, Joey McGuire, Sonny Dykes, and Willie Fritz as the four that could win this game.
Yeah, and last thing on Aranda, I think he's so quiet. You distrust him because he's so quiet. You're like, what is he thinking about in there? And he could not be thinking about, he could be just thinking about like, damn, this is some good rice I'm eating right now. But you always think he's thinking something sinister on there.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff Traylor, I like that pick because he's so entrenched in his relationships in Texas. He can really kind of lean into you, talking to you a bit like, you know, we go back to like, remember us at Gilmer and you were at Jacksonville, you know, like we used to do it back in the day in East Texas. He could lean on you like that. Willie Fritz, I think, has the best survival skills of any of the coaches. I mean, he's going to be the one making the fire, trapping the animals. Like, he is the MVP in your camp. Sonny Dykes, give me the Sonny Dykes pitch, because I don't have anything for him. He's a wild card for me.
So Sonny Dykes has to be like a top 5 hang in the industry. Yeah. Just a cool dude that's going to hang out at the beach, do whatever, talk to you about music and life and different. Has a lot of interests outside of the world of football. I think he gets along with all these guys. Like I kind of used my observations during coaching school as this one. You know, like, you know, they do that 13 head coach panel and you kind of see the guys interact, who they're talking to and all that kind of stuff. And just feels like Sonny, especially with his dad, he knows, you know, the older guys like Fritz and Traylor and those kind of guys who have been around forever. He's going to get along with them. He's been a former high school coach. He's done it at every single level. And I just think he's chill enough to he's not going to be the physical threat you're worried about winning all the challenges. He's not going to get into a bunch of drama. I think he's just a pretty smart guy. I think he's just going to play a very clean, smart, under-the-radar game to where you get to the end and you go like, holy crap, Sonny Dykes might win this thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Scott Abel, too. I had him in a front runner because he can always do more with fewer resources, like he did it as a football coach at Davidson. Does he have those relationships, though, to win this game, or is he just so good at making the relationships that doesn't matter?
I think that would be the tough part for like a Elko and Neil Brown, Abel, you know, Phil Longo. A lot of these other guys have known each other for a long time, have coached against each other, coached around each other, done a lot of these events together. And so I think it'd be tough for guys like Scott Abel to kind of crack into that. He also, maybe he's just too smart for his own good in this one, right? Like
those Rice guys.
Right, those Rice guys. I mean, we're leaning into stereotypes here, but that's part of the fun of this game. But yeah, I just, you know, but he's also a really good athlete as well. You remember, he was like a professional baseball player, close to a scratch golfer. So Abel's like a sneaky, maybe you wouldn't think is a physical threat, but all of a sudden he's won like 3 or 4 challenges in a row type of deal.
And I think you need that too, because from what I remember watching Survivor, there is always a time where you are on the hot seat. And it's kind of like, if you do not win this challenge, you will be voted out. And you have to buy yourself time until you can get everyone back on your side. And I think Abel can do that. I think if everyone is turned on him, he can buy himself time with the challenge. And some of the other guys, I don't know if they can do it. Like, there's some guys, I don't know if they're going to win a single physical challenge.
Yeah, Elko's probably there as well. Really good with puzzles, I would imagine. Just a smart guy. Went to Penn, you know. Mm-hmm. So maybe him and Abel kind of to make an alliance there between the big-brained ones or something. But yeah, it'd be a fun show. I'd watch it. College football coaches on Survivor would be hilarious because they're just such control freaks. But they also love drama. like anybody who doesn't know coaches behind the scenes, like they love to talk about what's going on. Like they love to gossip as much as anybody, if not more than anybody. And it's a industry that is very kind of buddy and almost like, I don't know, like not territorial is kind of the wrong word, but like it's very insular. Like you have it's cliquey. That's the word I'm looking for. It's very cliquey.
It's like Mean Girls.
So like who would click up? Who would the relationships be? Who would hate the other people? Like what rivalries would come out of it? Like I think it'd be a great season of television.
Do you have a clear-cut winner here, or is it just like your top few front runners? Because I think you've convinced me on Sonny Dykes, Craven. I think Sonny Dykes is going to win this entire thing.
Yeah, Sonny Dykes was my pick to win it.
Wow. Okay, I'd also go Willie Fritz. I think Jeff Traylor would be up there at the very end. And this is not me, like, I don't know Traylor. This is just me concocting some fan fiction in my head. I feel like Jeff Traylor would do the thing I talked about, we're pulling you in. Like, we go back to East Texas. Remember when we were coaching JV basketball together in East Texas at Gilmer? And then he would chop your legs off from under you in the idol ceremony. And so it would be tough for him when there's 3 people left to look out in the audience of all these people he betrayed through the game, through gamesmanship. Not like he's a bad dude or anything, but he plays to win. He's never had a losing season, guys. Come on. He's going for it all. I think that would hurt him at the end.
Yeah, those East Texas coaches can get after it for sure. I do think he's got the cutthroatness that is required sometimes to win Survivor. So yeah, I think Traylor is definitely in the mix, and if he gets into the final 3, he's a very likable guy. Coaches love him because he's got that East Texas twang and he has all the sayings, and he would come up with some like perfect way to put a thing, and so he would be a tough challenger for sure.
Mm-hmm. So congratulations to TCU head coach Sonny Dykes on winning our mock coaches Survivor. We'll send you a plaque in the mail, and you can put that up next to the college football playoff trophy that y'all got a couple of years back. Craven, that does it for the mailbag episode. I think that was pretty fun. If guys, listeners, if you ever got a question you want us to answer on the podcast, feel free to DM me on Twitter X, Carter_Yates16. You can DM Craven too. Craven, you might have those DMs shut off though. You might be. I'm wide open. Anyone can come hang out.
Yeah, they're on. You just have to be following me or me following you, I think.
That's actually a way smarter way to do it. Yeah, I should go fix that right after I get off the air here. Craven, any closing thoughts before we go out the door here?
No closing thoughts. Contractually obligated to say my daughter turns 1 on Wednesday.
There we go.
Happy birthday, Lucy. She's starting to sleep all the way through the night, so Mom and I are getting along again. It's a great time in the Craven household.
Any birthday plans?
Yeah, going to Jack Allen's here. I guess I was about to say which one, but now I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, you might. I might show up for the birthday party.
Yeah, that's right. So going to Jack Allen's with some family and stuff like that. It's perfect. So nobody cares about this. So just turn off the episode if you need to, or we can cut this. But my mother-in-law comes in town and like helps for the first part of the week, and then my mom comes over and helps kind of the second part of the week because she can't be in daycare yet, NICU, premature, just some stuff they don't want her. But like they usually change over on Wednesday, and that's her birthday. So both grandmas get to see her on her birthday, which is a huge win, and it saves me from having to drive to wherever to like meet a mom or something like that, because she belongs to the grandmas as much as she belongs to her mother and I.
Exactly right. Well, happy early birthday to Lucy, and we will see y'all next week on the Dave Campbell's College Football Podcast. For senior writer Mike Craven, I am Carter Yates, signing off.